What is this, part four of the irrefutable benefits of universal breakfast and lunch programs in schools? If you feel like you're fed up with this little series we're doing, hey, don't shoot the messenger. Don't blame me that there is so much benefit to universal school and lunch programs. I want to get through them all because I know we are all concerned about kids that are hungry in schools. Nobody wants to see that. I believe we are all big-hearted, but there are some, in the more conservative or even libertarian persuasion, who just say, you know what, that is not the government's responsibility. That's a whole other conversation for another time. But I think when we are talking about social beneficial programs like this, we do have to talk about the benefits, that we are not just doing this out of some sort of bleeding heart, or let's use a less pejorative term, compassionate, because Greens do believe in compassionate government, compassionate point of view, or a compassionate place. We're not coming just from there. It literally has returns on the investment. And anytime we're talking about whether it's from a business perspective or a nonprofit perspective or a government perspective, yes, using taxpayer funds, if we have a return on the investment, if you invest $100 million in something and over 5 years it will yield $130 million, you should take that deal every single time. And so we have talked about how statistics and research shows that when you invest in breakfast and lunch programs, it has a 2.5 to 7 time return on that investment. And for example, when in Sweden, when they looked at universal breakfast and lunch programs versus the US model, where they only targeted low income children from the ages of 3 to 5, it was twice the amount of benefit or return on investment with the universal breakfast and lunch program. Then we talked about specific ways the last couple of days that this is true. It increases domestic food production, which we have talked about. That is one of the 5 things. We want to see a boost in support to farmers in that ratio of our own fruits and vegetables that we produce in New Brunswick. Right now, it's only 10%. 90% of the rest we import, and we export our potatoes and blueberries and things like that. We want to see more domestic food production and consumption. And it helps with household budgeting. So $3,700 over a 10-month period for a family with 2 kids. And it creates more jobs in the food sector. So that's where we are up to now. Let's continue with even more benefits. Like I said, hey, we'll try to get through this, but there's so many. The next one is women in the workforce. Parental access to universal free lunch increased mothers' labor market participation by 5% and permanent household incomes by 2.6% in Sweden. And in China, if you think it's just a Euro thing, the introduction of school lunches led to a 9% to 14% increase in mothers' working hours per week, with the greatest increases among low-income mothers and mothers in rural communities. Hey, we are a rural community. Yes, we are not in China, but I keep saying anytime we see rural community, BC has a whole government department dedicated to rural policy and rural economic development. New Brunswick is 50% rural. It's more than just those 3 big cities. Anytime we see that, we need to sit up and take notice, especially here in Saint Croix. So these, again, are national food programs from this Reutz Consulting. We want to see the province do this. As Greens, we are committed to providing that breakfast and lunch school program when we are elected in this election. And as an MLA sitting in the House, whoever's forming the government, when we form the balance of power, we will want the universal breakfast and lunch program because it is irrefutable and it increases women in the workforce. Another benefit here as we continue to rip towards our 5 minutes, my goodness, we're already there, education and lifetime earnings. Exposure to universal free school meals has been demonstrated to increase students' lifetime earnings between 3% and 6% due to improved learning outcomes. And these increased earnings have been found to transfer to the next generation. Access to universal free school lunches have been found to reduce social inequalities as students from families in the lowest income bracket experience the most significant income increase amounting to 6%. And again, if you're wondering why it says pages 10 to 12, the link to the full report is in the description of this video. You can nerd out and geek out there. But this is just a quick summary synopsis of all the benefits because I didn't want this to be too onerous or arduous for you. But are you getting an idea of how important this is? So you see again how lifetime earnings for these kids as they grow up, they are improved and increased just from breakfast and lunch programs. That's all the time I'm going to take today. I could take, there's a few more. There's other case studies that I want to share with you. And then I want to talk about how we are going to pay for it. David Kuhn, the leader of the Greens, did make an announcement today about helping people with their electricity bill up to $25 a month for families with an income after taxes of $70,000 or less, because the corporate subsidies from this government that are going to these companies as they raise things, raise prices, and that's getting passed on to households and taxpayers and ratepayers. We do not want to see that continue to impact, especially the lower income brackets. So, this is an example of that. The Greens are always about targeting anti poverty, targeting the problems with the people that they impact most. But universal breakfast and lunch, of course, as we said, removes that stigma and has that across the board benefit for kids. And of course, the lower income bracket benefits the most through their lifetime, earning more income as a benefit from that. So many wonderful things to look forward to and celebrate in our riding together. And join me tomorrow because, yes, there is another part of the irrefutable benefits. Like I said, there's so many to universal breakfast and lunch. Thanks for joining me today. I look